Yo, so a few years ago, I was incredibly focused on figuring out the ways in which I could improve the quality of the sound of the beats that I was making on Maschine. I wanted things to sound more professional. So I really started to pay close attention to the music that I liked. And specifically, I listened to a lot of Tribe Called Quest at that time. I was listening to Bob Powers mixes and comparing them to the things that I was making on Maschine. And I noticed huge differences in the quality, but there was one specific thing that really stood out in the differences between the beats that I was making at that time and the mixes of the music that I really liked. I noticed that the professional mixes that I liked really sounded wide and full, and the overall effect that that had on the music was it made everything seem really grand and really lush, because my beats were very narrow, okay, in the stereo field, whereas theirs were really spread out, and it sort of created a sense of space within the mix. So what I did was I set out to try to figure out ways in which I could recreate that sound on my Maschine. I wanted to figure out how I could widen my mixes to make them seem more polished and more professional. And recently I figured out a really easy way to widen your mix and add more space and a sense of width to your mix to make everything seem more professional. Alright, and it's really simple. So we're gonna jump on over to Maschine and I'm gonna show you how to do it. But first of all, my name is Rob, and I'm the author of Maschine, the Hip Hop Beatmaker's Missing Manual, the #1 guide in the world for Maschine producers that are looking to learn how to create album quality beats using the Maschine workflow. Okay, so let's jump on over to Maschine and I'm gonna show you how to do it. Okay, so when you're learning how to improve the quality of your music on Maschine, when you're first understanding mixing and first getting into effects and all these techniques that you can use to improve what you're doing, one of the things that people tend to overlook is the stereo field and what's called the stereo spread of your mix. And there are a few ways in which I'm about to show you that you can use to give your mixes more spread, and that's going to help you achieve a more grand sense of space within your music, so that the music and the beats that you're making on Maschine can compare to the professional stuff. So let's talk about the first method. The first method is very simple, all right? This involves basically putting what I like to call a vinyl tape hiss. Well, everybody calls it that, but vinyl tape hiss in the background of some of my beats, all right? So what you do is you take the recording of the sound of like a vinyl record, you spread the stereo image and make it more full in the background of what you have already, and it sort of adds more space and sort of puts your sound inside of a virtual room, all right? Adds more texture, all right? And then what you do is you loop it across the entire length of the beat, and that's what I've done here in this group down here. So I'll type that in, vinyl hiss. And as you can see, I've added a stereo image, but this is basically all the sound is. It's just a recording of a vinyl crackle. Alright, very simple. So as you can see, I've just made a 4-bar loop of this and then spread that same pattern across my entire project. Very simple, very straightforward. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to loop this in the first scene, and I'm going to spread this vinyl image across the background of our song. All right, I guess I should let you listen to the song first before I disable anything or do any stereo spread stuff. So I'm going to let you listen to the entire song, or most of the song, so you get a sense of what we're working with. I want you to pay attention to how narrow the stereo image is thus far, and what we're going to do is spread things out. Okay, so mind you, I'm mixing in headphones right now, so the stereo image that I'm getting might not be exactly the same if you're mixing obviously in a different pair of headphones or if you're mixing or listening to this on your studio monitor. So what we're going to do is we're going to implement this vinyl hiss technique on the background of this main melody, and we're going to see how that affects the overall spread of the mix. So I want you to pay attention to this vinyl hiss sound. It's going to spread the overall width of the mix further in the background, and then we can utilize the next step after this is done. But pay attention to once I enable this mid-side plugin. And basically all this is, you can go get this on voxingo.com. It's also linked in the blog, so if you're on YouTube, go ahead and click the blog article in the description. I have that the download link for this inside the blog article. But what this basically is it's adjusting your stereo field. So it's taking the mono channel, I'm reducing it so that there's nothing really sitting in the middle and cluttering up the middle of our mix where our drums and everything else is. And I'm increasing the side gain, which is the stereo width of the audio signal. All right, so I'm making the vinyl hiss sound only in the stereo field, which is on the pan to the left and to the right. And essentially what that's doing is adding more width to the mix, all right? And I can essentially go, after this step, I'm going to do that to a lot of other sounds in the mix, but this is one way to add width, is to take something that's repetitive in the background, like a room sound, and spread it across, and that's going to add more depth to our mix. Alright, so that's the first step. We added a bit of vinyl hiss. I'm also going to link this vinyl hiss, a download to this sample on the blog as well. So you can go ahead and get that in the blog article linked in the description once you're done. But the next step is what we're going to do is add width to the individual instruments within our mix, okay? So that's going to be this Rhodes sound and this other piano sound. That's already got a bit of width on it. But we're going to add some width to these sounds in order to bring out the width of these elements within the mix and to spread this a little bit further. Ultimately, what we want is our melodic sounds to sit wider in the mix than our drums. So our drums are going to be in mono. Our kick, our sub kick, are going to sit directly front and center in the middle of the mix. Whereas the effect we're going to try to create is that vinyl hiss sound is going to sit super wide in the mix, so the hardest panned and left to the right, and the other elements are going to sort of fill in the space in between. So our chords are going to sit wider than the kick drum in terms of width. If you're looking, all right, say front and center. Our vinyl hiss is going to be over to the left and to the right of the stereo image. If you watch my mouse, the chords are going to sit further, not as far to the left or to the right as the vinyl hiss, but in the middle of the kick and the vinyl hiss, all right? So it's going to create more space within the mix and fill out the stereo image of our sound, all right? And that's going to create a unique effect. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to utilize that same mid-side plugin from Voxingo and spread the width of this Rhodes sound, all right? So let's go ahead and do that as well. Okay, so that's essentially it. Instead of the, I jumped in here originally and used that same mid-side tool by Voxingo. This is free. And instead I jumped with the Stereo Touch tool, which is sort of similar to the mid-side tool, except it allows you to control a delayed channel and spread the width of the sound itself, all right? It adds more depth to the sound. And that's what I utilized instead. And you saw me jump in there and mess with the delay. And that's basically just going to add some width to the sound. And as you saw, the overall effect was it filled in the space in between the mono sound and the overall hiss sound. So now that there's space in the middle between our vinyl hiss. And I'll let you see what the overall effect of this is in the mix. So this is essentially what we did. We threw on the vinyl hiss, spread it very wide, and we threw on a stereo tool to the Rhodes piano and spread that a little bit more. And it's going to add more width to our mix. I'm going to let you hear what it sounds like with everything that we just played. This is how it originally sounded. And then I'm going to play and enable all the things that we just did. Okay, excuse me, that's pretty much it. You know, it's just about creating a sense of space is very subtle, but it's one of those last little finishing techniques on your mix. You know, as you can see, I've got pretty much everything 80% of the way there as far as the mix. I've EQ'd everything, I've compressed the things in the right areas, I've sort of added the arrangement in the right places. Everything's sort of working well and meshing together. This is like the finishing touches and things that are probably done more close to the mastering stage, but it's just about finding more space for everything that you've got already. And this is pretty advanced techniques, but this is the type of stuff that's really going to separate the great mixes from, you know, the good mixes. So your mix can be good without techniques like this, but it won't be great because, you know, subliminally people will be able to tell, and they're used to hearing little details like this inside of professional music. And if you don't have that, then, you know, obviously your music won't be able to stand up against the really good stuff, all right? So if you're the type of person, obviously, that you're listening to this still, you're clearly serious about mastering your craft. You're serious about getting better at Maschine, learning the techniques that are going to take your skills and your sound to the next level. So if you want to get yourself to the point where you can utilize mixing techniques like this, the stereo spread technique that I just taught you, to be able to bust out high quality beats using your Maschine. And not only that, but if you want to be able to get to the point where you can do this on Maschine without even having to think about what to do, without having to search around on YouTube for advice from people, where you can just create automatically and consistently without having to, you know, think about what to do, I recommend that you go ahead and grab a copy of my book. It is by far the #1 best resource available to you as a Maschine producer that is going to help you get to the point where you can make release-ready beats using the Maschine platform, all right? So I'm teaching you from beginning to end the more advanced techniques that are going to get your sound to that next level, all right? And the best part about this guide is it's super in-depth, okay? So 89 pages of hard-hitting information covering advanced techniques like mixing on Maschine, like how to use the Transient Master plugin. We've pretty much got all the major plugins covered. Filtering, crunch with distortion. We talk about automation. Also, there's sections on sampling and building drum grooves. So this is an in-depth guide that is going to teach you the advanced skills and how to utilize Maschine's features creatively within your music, all right? So I'm not going to tell you what buttons to press and what knobs to twist. I'm going to tell you specifically how to utilize Maschine's tools to improve your sound, okay? Here's the great news, though. I normally sell this guide at $49, but even at that price, you know, it's well worth the investment. I mean, you paid $500, probably $1,000 for a Maschine. For $49 for you to understand how to improve your sound and make better quality music. If you just sell one beat license utilizing this guide, you know, obviously it'll pay for itself. But over the last few years, I've sort of figured out that the more people that are able to get their hands on this guide, the bigger my brand becomes, the better that my community becomes. So I'm going to hook you up with a deal on this guide today. Today you can get this book for just $1, okay? No catch, no hidden tricks, literally $1. And all you have to do is click the link in the description, okay? If you're watching this on my blog, there's a link below the article. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description. You're going to land upon a page that looks exactly like this. You're going to be able to find out more information about what's inside the guide. It'll tell you exactly what's in every chapter. You'll click the big button below the video, okay? And my internet's not working, but you're going to be taken to a page where you'll be able to find out a little bit more information about it and enter in your payment information, okay? So, like I said, this book is literally $1. No tricks, no hidden catches or anything like that. I want you to take advantage. Click the link in the description to grab your copy of this book. It will be the smartest thing that you've done, smartest investment you've ever made in your music. So again, my name is Rob. I'm the author of the hiphoprally.com blog and author of this book, Maschine, the Hip Hop Beatmaker's Missing Manual. Go ahead and grab your copy below in the description. Subscribe to the channel to continue to get awesome, great, world-class content teaching you how to improve your sound on Maschine. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.